Just 7 years ago, this massive concrete bowl was one of the loudest, most intimidating environments in all of professional sports. It was the beating heart of Oakland, California, a gritty, working-class city that prided itself on having the most passionate, uncompromising fans in America. On any given Sunday in the fall, more than 60,000 people wearing silver and black would pack the stands, turning the stadium into a fortress. And in the summer, the bright green grass would host the crack of baseball bats and the roar of a crowd that lived and breathed for their team. But look at it today. The roar is gone. The massive parking lots are empty. The concourses are silent. In a span of just 5 years, 3 different major league sports franchises, an entire city's worth of professional athletics, packed up their bags and abandoned Oakland. They left behind a sprawling, 112-acre concrete ghost town. This is the Oakland-Alameda County Coliseum. Once a marvel of modern, multi-purpose engineering, it is now the site of the most controversial, frustrating, and heartbreaking stadium abandonment in American sports history. How does a city lose 3 professional sports teams in half a decade? How does a stadium that hosted World Series championships and legendary football games become a decaying, empty shell? And what happens to the massive piece of land it sits on now that everyone has left? Let me show you inside Oakland's stadium disaster and the desperate billion-dollar gamble to try and save the site before it is too late. To understand the tragedy of the Oakland Coliseum, you have to understand what it was built to be. In the early 1960s, the city of Oakland and Alameda County decided they wanted to put their region on the national map. They did not just want a baseball stadium, and they did not just want a football stadium. They wanted a hard-working, do-everything venue that could serve the entire community. When it opened in 1966, the Coliseum complex was a masterpiece of mid-century civic planning. It paired a massive, symmetrical outdoor bowl with a sleek, adjacent indoor arena. The 2 buildings shared parking, utilities, and, crucially, a transit-served front door connected directly to the BART train system. The stadium itself was an engineering marvel designed for maximum flexibility. The playing field was intentionally sunken, 21 feet below street level. This brilliant move not only improved sightlines for the fans walking in from the concourse, but it also cut down on the swirling bay winds that constantly plagued nearby Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Inside the bowl, the stadium was a chameleon. The Oakland Athletics played baseball on a north-south diamond. But when football season arrived, the Oakland Raiders lined up east to west. Thanks to a system of movable seating decks and a modular setup, crews could completely switch the stadium from a baseball configuration to a football configuration in just a couple of days. At full build-out, the stadium could hold about 50,000 fans for baseball and more than 60,000 for football. Because it was designed to accommodate both the rectangular shape of a football field and the diamond shape of a baseball field, the Coliseum featured a massive, sprawling foul territory. This unique geometry became a defining characteristic of Oakland baseball, turning routine foul balls into spectacular, inning-ending outs. Before we dive into the cascade of terrible decisions that doomed this beloved stadium, a quick question. Do you enjoy these deep dives into massive engineering marvels, abandoned mega projects, and the hidden stories of our cities? If so, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. Here on MadeFor, we bring you the most fascinating, high-stakes stories behind the world's biggest structures every single week. Subscribe now using the link in the description, or just click the button below. Your support is what allows us to keep making these documentaries. Now, let us look at how the dream of the Oakland Coliseum began to unravel. For decades, the Coliseum worked perfectly. It was efficient, accessible, and constantly in use. It hosted the A's dynasty of the 1970s, the terrifying Raiders teams of the 70s and 80s, and legendary concerts from Led Zeppelin to Parliament Funkadelic. But the very thing that made the Coliseum great in 1966 Its multi-purpose, do-everything design became its fatal flaw in the modern era of sports. By the 1990s, the economics of professional sports had fundamentally changed. Teams no longer wanted to share stadiums. They realized that multi-purpose concrete bowls were terrible for generating the one thing owners cared about most: premium revenue. The seats were too far away from the action, and the buildings lacked the massive, multi-level luxury suites and exclusive club spaces that corporations were willing to pay millions of dollars for. The first major domino to fall in Oakland's stadium disaster was actually an attempt to save it. In 1982, the Raiders left Oakland for Los Angeles. In the mid-90s, the city of Oakland was desperate to get them back. To lure the NFL team home, the city and county agreed to fund a massive, ill-conceived renovation of the Coliseum. They completely sealed off the outfield, destroying the sweeping views of the Oakland Hills, and constructed a towering, steep, new upper deck. It raised the football capacity to over 63,000, which looked great on a brochure. But for baseball fans, it was a disaster. The new structure, mockingly dubbed Mount Davis, after the Raiders' controversial owner Al Davis, ruined the intimacy of the ballpark. It blocked the sun, trapped the wind, and created a massive, ugly concrete wall in center field. It was a desperate compromise that made the stadium worse for everyone. By the 2000s, the Coliseum was a building at war with itself. In 2006, the A's were so embarrassed by the cavernous, empty upper decks during baseball games that they tarped over the entire third level, cutting capacity to around 34,000, the smallest in Major League Baseball. The stadium was structurally exhausted. The plumbing frequently backed up, flooding the clubhouses with raw sewage. The lighting systems failed. The concrete was crumbling. National sports outlets regularly ranked the Coliseum as the worst venue in professional sports. And then, the mass exodus began. In 2019, the Golden State Warriors, who had played for decades in the adjacent indoor arena, packed up and moved across the bay to a privately funded arena that cost $1.4 billion in San Francisco. Why? Because San Francisco offered a larger corporate market, in a building optimized for premium luxury suites. That same year, the Raiders played their final season in Oakland. The state of Nevada had passed a law raising hotel room taxes to back $750 million in public money for a brand new, state-of-the-art stadium in Las Vegas. The Raiders took the money and ran. Suddenly, the massive Oakland Coliseum complex was completely empty except for the athletics. With football and basketball gone, the A's began aggressively eyeing a new home. Before the move became official, the city of Oakland took one last, desperate swing to keep their final team. They proposed the Howard Terminal Project, a massive waterfront ballpark district. It was not just a stadium, it was a 35,000-seat park surrounded by housing, offices, retail, and green space. The city spent years and millions of dollars advancing the project. Environmental reviews were approved, but the deal eventually unraveled under the crushing weight of time, cost, and deep mistrust. Years of delays pushed deadlines, expenses for off-site infrastructure climbed into the hundreds of millions, and the relationship between the team's billionaire owner John Fisher and Oakland City Hall completely broke down. In 2023, the A's announced they were leaving. They targeted a new publicly subsidized stadium on the Las Vegas Strip, planning to spend 3 interim years playing in a minor league ballpark in Sacramento. The fans in Oakland did not take this quietly. In a stunning display of passion and anger, fans organized a widely covered reverse boycott. They packed the crumbling Coliseum wearing shirts that simply said "Sell," demanding that the owners sell the team to someone who would keep them in Oakland. On opening day in 2024, they held a parking lot boycott, tailgating outside the stadium but refusing to scan their tickets to go inside. The fans proved, loudly and clearly, that the problem was never a lack of demand or a lack of passion in Oakland. The problem was the deal. The problem was an economic system that prioritizes luxury suites and taxpayer subsidies over community and history. So, what happens now? What do you do with a 112-acre ghost town in the middle of a major American city? Historically, the city of Oakland and Alameda County each owned half of the Coliseum site. In 2019, the A's actually bought the county's half for $85 million. But once the team announced they were leaving, the city faced immense pressure to chart a new future for the property. In mid-2024, the city of Oakland agreed to sell its 50% stake to a developer called the African American Sports and Entertainment Group, AAS, for $105 million. AAEG also committed to purchasing the other half of the site for an additional $125 million. The vision is incredibly ambitious. AAEG wants to turn the massive sea of asphalt into a multi-phase, mixed-use district. They plan to build thousands of homes, with at least 25% designated as affordable housing, along with an outdoor amphitheater, hotels, restaurants, and neighborhood retail. They plan to keep the indoor arena operating, as it still generates reliable event revenue from concerts and shows. They also plan to keep the Coliseum standing, at least for now. In the near term, it is being treated as a working asset. A local soccer club, the Oakland Roots, has committed to playing their home games in the massive stadium in 2025 while they work on a permanent solution. But as we enter 2026, the grand vision for the Coliseum site is facing harsh realities. The economics of redeveloping 112 acres are incredibly complicated. In theory, a massive, transit-connected site zoned for dense housing is a developer's dream, but the loss of the Raiders, the Warriors, and the A's fundamentally changes the math. Two of the biggest event generators in the entire region are gone. The indoor arena alone cannot support dozens of new restaurants and storefronts. Furthermore, the financial mechanics of the AASEG deal have been fraught with delays. The developer has struggled to meet payment deadlines to the city, and the complex process of Alameda County attempting to buy back its share from the A's to sell to AASEG has raised serious questions about the viability of the $5 billion master plan. For the vision to succeed, the Coliseum site has to shift from being a replacement for lost sports teams to a real, self-sustaining neighborhood. It has to overcome the lower surrounding incomes and the lack of existing amenities in East Oakland. The story of the Oakland Coliseum is not just about a building. It is a harsh lesson in the brutal economics of modern sports. Teams left Oakland because the venue and revenue math worked better elsewhere, not because the city lacked fans. The era when professional sports catered primarily to the average, middle-class ticket holder is dead. Today, nearly every new stadium is packed with layers of premium seating and exclusive clubs, heavily subsidized by taxpayers in cities desperate for the prestige of a major league franchise. Oakland refused to play that game, and they lost their teams. The Coliseum still stands today, a massive concrete monument to a bygone era. It is a place where legends were made, where a community gathered, and where the roar of the crowd once shook the earth. Now, it waits in silence, hoping that the ambitious plans for its future do not become just another broken promise. What do you think? Was the city of Oakland right to refuse to hand over hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars to billionaire sports owners? Or should they have done whatever it took to keep their teams? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please hit that like button and subscribe to MadeFor. We will see you in the next video.